What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Sports Degenerate Podcast. Today we got a Thursday night football preview, Jets versus Patriots. For people that are new to the show, the way the format works on Thursday is we include the fantasy football preview and the betting preview in the same show, just because it's a one game slate, not too much to talk about. We have time to fit it in. For Sunday's games, we do separate episodes for betting and fantasy football, so subscribe. Be ready for that coming up in a couple days. But let's hop into this game. Two AFC East teams, Jets, Patriots. Let's get into it. Let's start with the fantasy football preview. Like I say every episode, start your studs. If you drafted Breece Hall, Ramondre Stevenson, or Garrett Wilson, they are must starts in your lineup, no question. Let's move on to the other guys though. The other guys that might be fringe players. I am going to go by position for each team. Starting off with quarterback, we all know we are not starting Jacoby Brissett unless you are in a 2 quarterback league or a superflex league. Do not start Brissett. Aaron Rodgers, a little bit different. I obviously don't hate Rodgers. We all know the upside. He can throw multiple touchdowns on any given day. He did it last week, but I don't love him. The Patriots defense actually isn't that bad. They have proven that the first 2 weeks. And the Jets want to run the ball. If the Jets have a lead, they will run. So I have 5 guys that are probably widely available in your leagues that I would rather start. Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, Derek Carr, Sam Darnold, and Deshaun Watson. I would rather start all those guys over Rodgers. I'll go over them one more time. Baker, Geno, Carr, Darnold, and Watson. So like I said, I don't hate Rodgers, but I would rather not start him. Let's get into the wide receivers. So the Patriots have no fantasy relevant receivers. I would rather start almost anybody. Go check out my waiver wire show. I gave you guys 7 receivers. Any of those 7 guys, I would rather start over the Patriots. The Jets, so they have 2 options. Allen Lazard, I don't hate him. We've seen him catch 2 touchdowns already. He has rapport with Rodgers, but go check out my waiver wire show. I would rather start all those guys over Lazard. I just don't see a ton of passing this game for the Jets. I'm kind of worried, but I don't hate him, like I said. And then Mike Williams. So I don't want to start Mike Williams this week, but if he is available, roster him. He's starting to get more playing time, and I think he is the perfect receiver for Rodgers in the red zone. He is a great jump ball receiver. So in the future, down the line, I can see him being fantasy relevant. So roster him, but don't start him this week. Let's move on to tight ends. So Tyler Conklin for the Jets. Do not start him. I would rather start almost anybody over him. I gave you guys 4 tight ends on my waiver wire show. Start all those guys over Conklin. Hunter Henry is my favorite streaming tight end though. He had over 100 yards last week. We've seen him perform in the past. Having a tight end that has the upside of getting 100 yards is a starter in fantasy. We all know tight ends are gross. So if you are in need of a tight end and Henry is available, 100% start him. I like him this week. And lastly, the only thing we have left is just the backup running backs. Antonio Gibson for the Patriots, Braylon Allen for the Jets. So these guys should all be rostered. If they are on the waiver wire, pick them up. They need to be rostered. But this week, I don't hate them. I don't love starting them, but I don't think they are terrible options. They are giving you around 10 touches per game minimum. And for fantasy, that's not bad for a deep flex or a desperation running back. So like I said, this week, I don't hate them. There's always upside for a touchdown if you get 10 touches, but they need to be rostered. You have to roster these guys. So that is the fantasy football preview. Let's get into the bets. I only have one bet for the game. I will get into the player props after this, but only one bet for the actual game. I have under the total of 40 points at minus 140 odds. I bought 1.5 points to bring it to 40. So the line was originally at 38.5. I like buying points just to give us a little bit of wiggle room. If you're not able to get the line at 40, anything over 38.5. So 39, 39 and a half I also like. So take the under. The reason I like the under is because, like I mentioned in the fantasy preview, both of these teams want to run the ball and play defense. They don't want a shootout at all. So I expect a slow game with minimal scoring. So take the under. Let's get into the player props. I use the Underdog Fantasy app for all my player prop bets. If you are a first time user, download the Underdog Fantasy app. Use my code CE2244. The letter C, the letter E, 2244. If you use that code as a first time user, you get a deposit match up to $1,000. So whatever money you put in, you get back in free bets. So how I do this every week, I give you the lines that I like, and you do what you want with them. I don't want to tell you guys how to bet. You can put all of these in one big parlay. You can mix and match, whatever you want to do. Usually there's always specials as well, discounted lines, especially if you are a first-time user. For example, I got a Garrett Wilson discounted receiving yard line that I used in some of these bets. But like I said, you do what you want. I have 5 lines that I like in this game. Let's hop into them. I like Ramondre over rushing yards. I got it over 66.5. Anything under 71 I like. He's had over 80 yards in both games. And I like Ramondre over 16 carries. Anything under 18 I like the over. He's had over 20 carries in both games. I like Breece Hall over the receiving yards. I got it over 31.5. Anything under 35 I like. His lowest total this year is 39 receiving yards. Hunter Henry over the receiving yards. I got it at 33.5. Anything under 35 I like. He had 100 yards last game, so I think he can get 35 yards. Braylon Allen over 20.5 rushing yards. Anything under 22 I like. He had over 30 last game, and I expect a lot of running in this game. So that is it for the bets and the fantasy preview. Like always, if you have any questions about betting, about fantasy, comment on the podcast, comment on YouTube, DM me on social media. Thanks for watching, guys. I love all of you.